Welcome to the HappYness Helix Podcast. It gives me immense pleasure. It's a privilege, an honor to have today's guest. When I thought about today's guest and I called him and I said, I call him Anna. So I said, Anna, I'd like you to consider being a guest of the podcast. Well, his response summarizes all that he is. He said, why me? What have I done? So, without any further ado, our guest today is Dr. JS Bhuvaneswaran, eminent cardiologist, director of the PSG Super Specialty Hospitals. I've got a interesting introduction and I want to read it out. He's got multiple years of experience. He's the director of this PSG Super Specialty Hospital. Came from a village, Gobichettipalayam, and then went on to be first a doctor, medical doctor, cardiologist, outstanding, outgoing student in every single institution that he studied in. And what is unique about Dr. Bhuvaneswaran is his holistic, multifaceted approach to medicine and health. He's got multiple awards, and I'm not going to be speaking about all of that. He's also an accomplished stage singer. He's got a philanthropic organization that he uses to help those who are less fortunate across all segments of society and all age groups. So it gives me great pleasure. And today we're going to be talking about not just medicine, not just the heart, but how the heart, the brain, the stomach, and all of this can lead to somebody living a fulfilled, happy life. And yes, Dr. Bhuvaneswaran has been a TEDx speaker, and he has spoken on the topic of identity, and we'll delve a little deeper into that as well. So, Anna, absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Absolutely, Cheenu. I'm very happy that I'm able to do this conversation with you. First of all, thank you very much for. I actually look at it in a very different perspective. I look at it as a self-exploration because many a times, you don't get time to sit and think about what you have done or what you have been doing. So if somebody asks me like, okay, what are you doing? I think it's an avenue of an opportunity for me to really express. So obviously the brain, mind, intellect connect will be full. And I really look forward, honestly, because I'm looking at purely as an extemporary. I've come blank. So you can hit with any questions, anything which I think to my context I will answer.
Absolutely. I think, the moment you said it, the first thing that came to my mind was Roger Federer's talk right now that he had given at a university. And he said something very interesting. He said, one thing that people say about Roger Federer is that he makes it, it's so effortless. And he said, it used to irritate me or something to that extent. When he said, there's a lot of effort that goes into making it seem effortless. So I think when you say that, I've come without any preparation, I think your life journey has been the preparation. I think the preparation has been the fact that you've had all these roles that you've played and you've accomplished so much, excelled at so many things. First question. I did some research in terms of, what are some anecdotes that I can check. I did do my spying or sleuthing to find out some juicy tidbits. The one thing that you also mentioned in your TED talk was that, I came from a village. I studied in a Tamil medium school and I landed up in Stanley Medical College.
Yes.
And it was all in English.
Yes.
Right? And sort of struck a chord with me. that there are so many people whose they only look at what they are today, who they are today, what they've accomplished. They see only the accomplishments. Like Roger Federer, I'm sure that you had to do a lot of things to make it seem so effortless. So first, how was the journey? Were you a studious student right from young age, or were you like me, where you used to take it easy? I'm certain you didn't, because I was very clear I wouldn't do medicine. I was very clear I wouldn't do engineering, because it required a lot of commitment and a lot of hard work. So, what was your journey like?
Um, as you correctly said, I hail from, I wouldn't call it as a village, it's a small town because, we take pride in saying it's a town rather than a village, slightly above. The place is called as Gobichettipalayam, which is around 90 kilometers from Coimbatore, where now we are sitting. And I come from an agricultural family. So honestly, I was brought up in a joint family situation. And it's very simple. We didn't have any option for any convent or English education. We had our town school, one of the local school in the Agraharam, I should say, where I grew up, where English was a subject. All other subjects were in Tamil. In fact, that gave me such a strong ground that now when I get public speaking, I very effortlessly I talk in Tamil because I don't want to say Tamil. And technically translate the scientific words, for example, like heart as idayam and iota as magatamani, etc., etc. So I was always been a good student in the school. I topped in my primary school and I topped in my secondary school. In fact, I belong to the last batch of the SSLC. That we in Tamil Nadu we belong to that 11+1, that is a pre-university. And in fact, I remember till 11th standard I used to be a class first, but 11th standard I first time I realized that probably my expression into the answer papers were very good. Why I say this, I always, whenever I was asked to write an answer to a question, and even in school, I used to draw diagrams and to just say that these diagrams are sometimes of my own. So I realized that these things gave me confidence that I could do well. So schooling wise, it was a very, very typical, like what you probably see in some of this R.K. Narayan stories. It was a typical village life, excellent well swimming, coconut tree climbing, mango picking, mango plucking. And interestingly, I was very active as a school actor, in fact, actress. I was always given a girl's robe and a girl's role, except probably once I played Nehru Mama. Otherwise, it's been always like that. And school life was one of the greenest memories. And that's how exactly I came out as the district first in the SSLC. And that gave me a choice whether to go outside my hometown for colleges like in Trichy, like St. Joseph's. Those are the famous colleges, then Loyola in Chennai. But my family and we took a decision that I wanted to do in the local college so that, I can spend much time in reading rather than getting accustomed to a hostel, etc. So I chose a local college where we used to go in cycle.
This is for the pre-university.
Pre-university. We used to go in cycle, and even I have gone to the college wearing a dhoti. So all that type of things. And the first shock, because through and through I was always in a boys' high school. The first time when I went to the pre-university college, it was a co-education. So even now you can see me blushing because it's like I always I remember some of them, and interestingly, some of them are in close touch with me even now. And so I remember how the reaction to us when we were in co-education. See, I would always say that these type of sensitive emotions in young age was. I mean, it makes me really enjoy those moments. And pre-university was really sort of a. I did extremely well. Again, I came out very well in the pre-university marks, and that time the selection of to MBBS was purely based on the marks. So there was no entrance or anything. It was purely based on the marks. And if I remember correctly, I had for the pre-university, I had almost 98% in all the major subjects. So I knew that I could get into medicine. That is exactly how the up to Stanley Medical College life.
What made you choose medicine? Was that your choice? Was that because I'm asking this, doc, because growing up I wanted to be a chef.
Okay.
I wanted to be a chef and I wanted to go to catering college and do all those things. But family astrologer had said that I'll be a neurosurgeon.
Astrologer.
Funny story. And the one thing I did not like, I was very clear I did not like, was biology. Because I did not like the sight of blood and all of that. So I'll complete the story. I actually ended up becoming a chartered accountant. And my mother and I, we went to see this family friend, astrologer, and take his blessings. He blessed me and he said in Tamil, he said, you should have become a neurosurgeon. How did you become an accountant? So for me, in the family, they all wanted me to take up medicine. I didn't want to. In your case, was it something that you chose? Was it part of the family thing? Were you very clear that, this is what I want to do?
In fact, I fondly remember, and some of my friends also remember, that I used to play doctor when I was in 5th and 6th standards. I used to give them injections and with that dummy stethoscope, auscultation, a few occasions. But honestly speaking, I was very good in biology. As I was telling you, I could draw the diagrams well, and I liked science much more than mathematics. So I was very clear that I wouldn't take something which will take me to the mathematical side. That was in the school. The soul and the important person who wanted me to become doctor is my mother. My mother was so insistent on my brother becoming a doctor, honestly, to start with. So she was really, she was a very staunch Anjaneya Bhakti. So she used to go circumambulate the Anjaneya to the extent that Anjaneya at times even would have felt that why this lady is not leaving me, and till one of her sons probably get medicine. So, but with all that, my brother could not get into medicine because the selection process was such that he couldn't get in. In fact, so that gave a sort of a will and a grit and an integrity for me to really achieve to become a doctor, because my mother was so fond and keen. So the credit goes to my mother for me to have chosen medicine, because honestly, my heart of heart, I wanted to take up agriculture. And but probably, if I remember correctly, it is also science. So and some of my teachers, in fact, the place where I got educated for my pre-university was in Gobi Arts College, where some of the teachers were very encouraging, and they really were telling me that you score a good mark, you will become a good doctor, things of that kind. That led to me to become a doctor.
this very interesting that the what you said about small town, joint family, agricultural. I see those values. I'm not able to put a finger and say these are the values, but one of the most important thing that stands out in my interactions with you is the absolute modesty and humility that is very clear for somebody who's achieved so much. And I was happy to walk along with you when you went on your rounds before we were setting up for the shoot. And what I saw in people who interacted with you was respect for sure, but there was a lot of affection.
Yes.
There was a lot of affection in how they were interacting with you. I'm certain, and we did have a brief chat about some of the things outside, that there are certain basic values that we imbibe when we are growing up. Who were the people whom you model yourself on? And what were some events or incidents? Because with the viewers, if you can share some incidents or events, this is why I'm able to relate to this. For example, when you said, first time I was in a co-education institution, I went back to school. From 10th standard, when I went into 11th and 12th, I was suddenly put in a co-educational atmosphere. And today, people who know me say that, will you ever stop talking? And I tell all youngsters that for the first year, I was quite tall for my class, so I would sit in the last bench on the right-hand side. So the only three people that I ever spoke to were the three people who were sitting in front of me and one by the side of me. I was so shy. I was so insecure. So some anecdotes in terms of what are some events that you remember that made you understand the importance of being grounded, which is why you're so humble and modest, and what were some lessons that you learned that makes you so loved?
Immediately as soon as you asked, what came to my mind is my father. In fact, my father obviously had a very humble beginning. He passed that time again 11th standard, and he stopped his education and so he was one person whom I have seen extremely grounded, extremely modest, very humble, empathetic, respectful. And so from my childhood, I have always observed that although I was actually a sort of a little arrogant boy. In fact, I had one important thing in the family which has some relevance to this podcast is I have been like Lord Krishna's story. See, I was born to a set of parents as my biological parents. My father Ramaswamy and my mother Savitri, and I have a brother, my name Balu. So ours is a family like that, and at the age of 6, when I was 6, my mother's maternal uncle, a gentleman who was a senior advocate, a very rich man, a very, very philanthropic man who did not have children, adopted me in the family. So it was a sort of a ritualistic legal adoption which took place in the year 1969. I was born in 63. So when I was 6 years old, I was given adoption to my mother's maternal uncle. It's something, he is my, like a grandfather to me. He was 55 when he adopted me, and I was 6 years old. So I had a set of foster parents. So in fact, my name was changed from at the age of 6, when I was in second standard, I think. From G.R. Rajagopal was my school name. it was changed into JS Bhuvaneswaran. That was happened then. So my foster father was a senior advocate, and I had, in fact, two houses. I was too young to go and live with my foster parents, so I had a very interesting life. I used to be in my biological house where my father. It was a small house with a joint family. My father's elder brother, his wife, his children. So we had about 5, 10, 12 people in the house. So every morning from there, I used to go with my father to my foster father's house. And from there, my father was managing his agriculture. And so from there, I used to go to school, come back to my foster father's house. Evening onwards, again, I'll come back running to see my mother, who is in biological house. So I had a very, I could not understand that time, like, what is this? I had two sets of parents. Everybody have only one set of parents, but I have two sets of parents. And one whom they call me as I'm supposed to be his son is very much older than my father. All these things as a young boy used to go into my mind. And I obviously knew that house where I was born was a very small house. And the house where my foster father lived was a very, very big bungalow. It was almost in an acre. And so all these things were in my mind. And so I had, so why I say these points basically is, emotionally, I always, I realized that, I needed people. And I was, even basically, I realized I'm an emotional person. So seeing my father, my biological father, who's very, very humble, and my foster father, who's highly philanthropic. He's a big dharmatma. He used to educate everybody. Whomever goes to meet him and seeking for something, he will always give them. So I probably brought up with such values where, I have seen my own family doing a lot of dharmas, a lot of weddings, a lot of activities in terms of literal activity. Anybody who is coming to our hometown at that time, let it be Pulavar Kiran or Krishna Premi or Kripananda Variyar or Mukul Lakshmana Narayana Acharya or T.S. Balakrishna Sastri, Anantarama Dikshidhar. I can keep on telling. All of them have been in my house and we have seen them growing. So that way, value system, being grounded, being emotional was very much soaked in me. So what you saw of me interacting with my team or my family is very clear, because if I really like something really in me is that I love people. I always say to forget who you are, what you are. We are all human beings. My love is very boundless, and I am very honest in that. So I have seen, people trying to relate with others. Showing love is different from being in love. So I have really, I love people. And when I look at them, I always hug them, I touch them, I say a few kind words. All these things come from the bottom of my heart. My mother used to be like that. My mother, I remember even the servant maids and all, she will call Kanne, Maniye and all she used to say. So I think I realized that, these are all things which I have imbibed from my childhood. And now, in the world, this current world, people very clearly know that if you have to be successful in life, if you have to be really a place where you are, you need soft skills. So soft skills are definitely, they are the hardest requirement, to be very soft and be communicative, to who can relate with. So these foundations are very, very, and I'm very proud that I'm very honest and sincere in what I am today. credit goes to my background of upbringing.
When you were saying all of this stuff, I think something came to my mind. John Lennon, I think it is attributed to John Lennon. He said, "The answer is love. What is the question?" Whatever the question is, the answer is love, right? I think what you said, I think it just echoes that. You've elaborated so much on that. It is about love. It is about kindness. It is about empathy. It is about being human.
And again, I underline it has to be honest and sincere.
It can't come from the lips.
Yes, because I have seen it's like it's one I always one reason why I always liked the actor M.G. Ramachandran. That it had a lot of effect in my mind when I was a boy. I mean, he was a very famous hero at that times, and he became the chief minister. So whenever you talk of MGR, people talk of one thing. Whatever said and done is that his love, his kindness, his consideration. He depicted a lot of such roles in the movies, but even otherwise, people who have moved closely with him knew that how much of dharmam he would love to do, and how much of love and he takes people along with him. So these things again, because even now whenever I get an opportunity, whenever I sing the songs, his songs have made a big impact, and those words had made impact. So it has to be there has to be an honesty and sincerity in what we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to go back to your Stanley Medical College.
Oh.
This shift from a small town, very interesting that you said, at an age of 6, I'm living here, these are my parents, but now I have to call somebody else my parents, houses are different. I'm not even going to try to understand what it must have cost to a 6-year-old. Is there anything, I'll come back to Stanley Medical College, but at this point, is there anything that has made a difference to how you live life, how you interact with people, the fact that you went through this experience? Obviously, at age 6, you were not given a choice, right? How has that affected you as a person? How has that both? When I say affected, it's not just it means that it has been a problem. No, how has that made a difference to your life? Because today, and the reason I'm asking this question, Doc, is very interesting, that today the incidence of people not being able to have their own children is growing up, evidenced by the fact that we have so many fertility and IVF clinics. And you know more
Yes.
about it than I do. Right? And in the work that I do interact with people who are not with their biological parents, either by choice or otherwise. It really doesn't matter. So I'm curious to ask this question. And this was 69, when there was not so many things that were going on. How did it affect you? What advice would you have? And this is where I'm coming to. What advice would you have for people who are now looking at, it's a very noble thing to do as well in today's world, at taking on an already existing child and making them their own child? What advice would you have for them, and how did it affect you?
See, in fact, I vividly remember when that day I was decorated well, I had jewels, I had new clothes. They took me in a car because my foster father had 2 cars, Vanguard, that old Vanguard and Ambassador. Both the cars came and I was taken there to their house where the ceremony took place. But after some time I started some sort of insecurity why my parents gave me to somebody else. And but interestingly, and my biological parents and my foster parents are closely related. As you know, my mother's own maternal uncle, and my father was taking care of the properties of my foster father. So there was a lot of going and coming. So initial phase was that I always felt insecure in the foster father's house. That it's a very big house, a lot of servants, a lot of activity, and somehow at the back of my mind I knew that I am the boy of the house, but I was very uncomfortable. So till I went to my secondary school, I think after ninth standard, if I remember correctly, I started living in my foster father's house. I stopped coming to my biological parents' house regularly and routinely. I used to come only when it's required. So the phase was I started understanding that I'm going to be the boy for the foster parents' house. So ninth onwards, and there's another big reason. Two of my cousins and I picked up some good friends in that locality. So that's adolescent age. So to be honest, we never missed any of this adolescent fun, and obviously all of us go through that, and so that probably was the time when I started identifying myself as a boy of the house, and it became stronger, and I started showing a lot of love and affection to my foster parents, because then only I realized these people have taken me as their son, and I have a duty. My biological father used to keep on telling, so you have to be respectful to them, you have to show love to them. They are older people, they want your love and affection, you have to be. So those things I have started again practicing honestly. So by the time I finished my pre-university, I was very, very close to my biological as well as to my foster parents. So there were three phases, as I could tell you. Initial phase of first sort of dramatic to sort of insecure, then adapting, and finally sort of convicted or confirmed. I had a personal conviction that have to be for my foster father parents. So it was a very natural growth, but these things have left a lot of imprints in my. You literally stilled all these emotions, but again, I'm very thankful to you for bringing all these things to my mind, and I have fond photographs of all these events, because that time the photography was just coming in. It was early, mid 60s, late 60s. So I have photographs of all these events in black and white. And if I remember correctly, during my Upanayanam was the first color photos came. So I have some color photographs of my Upanayanam, and so I have a habit of preserving these things. I have a excellent collection of all these things, physical archives and now digital archives also. I made everything into digital. I have a hard disk which has all these events, and thanks for asking me that question.
See, another question that comes to my mind, like you said, you don't want to prepare for this. I also did some preparation, but then I realized that when we start having a dialogue, a lot of things get prompted by that. This is not something that I'd intended to ask, now I'm asking. You had a situation where both your biological and your foster parents were there, you knew that you had to be there. But today, many a time what happens is that the foster parents have no idea of who the biological parents are. The children have no idea of who their biological parents are, and I don't have any general view on this. I know that it can be difficult for the child, certainly. I know that I work with a few parents who have adopted children, and they are going through their challenges as to how do we, when and how do we communicate. My advice to them is that when the child is old enough to understand, please communicate it immediately. Do not try to hide it. Do not try to say that all of this is. So this is something that I keep telling people. What would, as a doctor and as a person who sees so much and having been through it yourself, what would your advice be to parents who are looking at this kind of taking on another child and making it their own? What would your advice be?
See, it's very clear that the parents are adults. And obviously, when they adopt a child is a child. So when the adoption happens in that type of age group, which is less than 10 years old, the child has to become an adult for him to understand. Let us be very clear, because as my own experience, I could understand this concept of me having a set of foster parents only when I was 16 years old. Till then, I was not very clear, excepting that I knew these words, I knew certain ceremonies, this, that, but I have to really accept another set of people as my parents is, and it should happen, and that is what is my, it's my right as well as it is what a right to do. All these things I could understand was only around the age of 15, 16. So the advice or the guidance I would say is that it is like, you have to allow the child to mature and understand it in a very natural way, make him understand rather than to expect him to accept you as your parents. There the parents have to wait for the child to accept. The child should become an adolescent and a mini or young adult to accept. So that is the natural way. And I'm very thankful to my foster parents who had that patience and wisdom to wait for me to show that love. Because after that, when I went to Stanley Medical College, my foster father died when I was in third year medicine. And you have to know this, and when my foster father died, I was in the college, Stanley Medical College. So my classmates, 50 of them, they came in a Stanley Medical College bus from Chennai. The whole 50 of my classmates came driving in the night. They came for the funeral, which was one of the moments which I could never forget, because that was the love and affection which my classmates showed. Coming all the way from Chennai, they came in the morning. In fact, I couldn't believe that these people are all there. And they were there till the evening 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock again they left, and they drove all the way back to Chennai. So that happened. This thing. My foster mother lived with me subsequently for almost 20 more years. And she died only in mid 2000, 2004, I think 2004. So there was a very, she lived with me for quite a duration. In fact, she saw me getting married, all that. So there was so much of love and which came between us. And so one after one, all my parents have died. In fact, after my foster father, my biological father passed away in late 90s. Then my foster mother passed away in 2004. And my biological mother was the last to leave. She died in 2013. So every parent of mine had left value with me. And my father was a man of humbleness, humility, and integrity. My foster father was a dharmatma, as I was telling you. Whenever I think of him, I'll think of he will be looking for an avenue to give something to somebody. My biological mother was a lady of love. She's so full of love. And my foster mother is one thing which I always say. She always say that, you have to share whatever you have. Even if you have one apple, she will cut it into 15 pieces, and she will give one piece to me and other 14 she will give to others. She was so insistent. And she's, again, so everybody has taught me something in that. And so, coming back, natural acceptance of this should happen by the foster parents on an adopted child. So, we should go to Stanley Medical College.
Which brings me to a very interesting question. I once said, I told my friends and I said, I'm extremely lucky to have great friends. And one of them turned around, looked at me and said, that's because you're a great friend. So my question is therefore, based on that, when 50 people, 50 of your classmates drive through the night, it's not a easy thing in those days as well, to come here. My question is not on the 50 people. What advice do you have to people to be a good friend? If I had to ask you three things that you would give to people, how can you inspire people to be loving towards you and be there for you? Simple thing is that we need to be loving, we need to be there for them. Aside of that, what else would you think is important? Because without relationships, there is no life. What would be your advice?
See, in fact, I approach friendship into two lines. There is one is a close friendship, a smaller circle, and a larger circle, a wider friends. The first basic thing which I say for you to have a good friend is it should be absolutely unconditional. So when I say this, I have to remember my close friend, Dr. Babuji, who is very close to me in Stanley Medical College for two reasons. One, as I told you, I am from a Tamil medium and I went to Stanley. I needed a boy, somebody who could talk to me in English. Because my grammatical English knowledge was reasonably good because we had a good English grammar background, basics. But spoken English is zero. So I wanted somebody to talk to me, encourage me, and there Dr. Babuji was one such person. And he taught me another important added value in life is, he always used to tell that if you have to have somebody as your good friend, there shouldn't be a condition. Now, if you like somebody, you want somebody to be your friend because that person is rich, your friendship will just collapse the moment the fellow becomes poor or he doesn't have money. So in that context, so he taught me a value that friendship should be unconditional. And to be very honest, I would say that many of us are coals. We have to get hardened and to get polished to become diamonds. So I always had a liking to imbibe certain things from people. Although it is not a part of my personality or character, if I really like that, I used to start imbibing it, making it to be a part of me to start with, and then it becomes an integral. So this scientifically also, what I want to tell you, it is not that you can't change. If you want to change, you can do that by sincerely following this. You like something in somebody and you want to be like that somebody, you have to really first take it from outside, you visualize, you start doing it, start practicing it. At times, initially, it is not your trait, it is somebody else's trait but do it sincerely, repeatedly. At sometimes it becomes a part of you. So, friendship, he taught me the basics of friendship to me. And to be very honest, I have very, very few friends who are very close to me. In this Dr. Babuji is, my last I saw him was about 30 years back. But still I always say that he's very close to me because that is the love for that person. He is somewhere in US now. Because of so many other reasons, I'm not able to contact him because he has not left his card. So I have some very close friends back home who were my friends when I was from fifth standard. So those friends are only have stayed back with me. Otherwise, the places wherever I went, I have picked up a lot of friends. They're all the second level so-called friends because of situations, because of I was in Manipal for my MD, I was in Trivandrum for my DM, and various places wherever we picked up a friend circle. But I don't say that they are all very close to me as always. Although there were a lot of good friends, and nice friends, intellectual friends, artistic friends, this that. But if you really have to have a good friendship, bottom line, unconditional.
Beautiful. Unconditional love.
Yes, yes.
And that if it's conditional, then it's not friendship.
Obviously, conditional is like it's like love. See, what is love is like how you hold a flower. So that's love.
Don't hold it too tight.
Yeah. If you have to hold it in such a way that a flower should be to be felt like a flower and to be held like a flower, and that's love. So same thing for. In fact, I remember fondly one of the lyrics of Vairamuthu in one of the நட்பிற்கும் கற்புண்டு அப்படின்னு ஒரு வார்த்தை சொல்லுவார் அவர் in Tamil, as you know. So even you have to be chaste to have a chaste friendship. So we always say karpu and chastity is only to the women folk and men folk. But for friendship, he says நட்பிற்கும் கற்புண்டு அப்படின்னு ஒரு வார்த்தை ஒரு சினிமா பாட்டில் வரும். It comes in. So that way, you have to be honest in friendship. You have to be loving in friendship unconditionally.
I'm loving the way this is going because I absolutely love this exchange rather than a prepared exchange. Okay. So, a friend, I was listening to a discourse yesterday on the way here on the train. And the discourse, they said that Kabir, he said, pay somebody, keep your friends very close, but those who curse you, those who criticize you, keep them closer. You should actually have somebody on your payroll. You should pay them and ask them to criticize you and find fault with you all the time. Because in those days, apparently, there were kings where people would just say a lot of nice things to them. I keep saying that the difference between a very, very close friend and a greatest enemy outwardly doesn't seem to be there because both of them seem to be saying the same things. They're very, very cutting. The intent behind why a dear friend says something and an enemy says something could be very different. The enemy wants to put somebody down. The friend wants to make that friend come up and be what they really can be. So that's the background. My question is, in this unconditional love, how do we communicate those tough messages? Because if we didn't care, we wouldn't be bothered. We care, and we want to tell them that very directly put, you're being an ass. You have to do something differently. What would your suggestion, what would your advice be in navigating this aspect of friendship? When I say friendship, it doesn't have to be friendship. It could be a loved one, it could be a child, it could be a partner, it could be a relative, right? What would your advice be?
See, I clearly remember an incident which makes me say all these things, or which made me say what I said. I used to really get very angry whenever I'm hungry. This is one from my childhood. I used to really become cranky when I'm hungry. I used to be, as a human being, all of us are selfish. I used to be extremely selfish when I become that, the hunger drives me. So one such afternoon, I remember that was the time I was in Stanley and I was talking about this boy, this gentleman, Babuji was my close friend. So I was so hungry, I was showing a temper tantrum. So I think I have insulted him. I was harsh on him because this fellow was politely watching all this, that, and he never said anything. He was still hanging around with me, coming back to with me from the, because I was showing all this in the college where we had our morning classes were getting over. I was very hungry. I was coming back to the hostel for the. He came back with me after I had my food. He was hanging around with me. Then he opened his tiffin box. He started eating. Suddenly I realized I didn't even have a courtesy to ask him whether he had his food, this, that. And this fellow was quietly eating. Then I asked him, why, I'm sorry. I told him, I'm sorry that I think I was very harsh on you. And I told him, I feel very bad that, I get this bad temper when I don't eat. So he smiled and said that I knew that. I knew that you were showing temper tantrums because you were hungry, and I observed this in you. So I said, it's okay. That is you. As I told you, I have just accepted you as my friend, and it doesn't make any difference for me. And I never expected you to ask me, offer food or anything. Anyway, I had my food. So now I know you are my friend, my real friend who is now talking nicely to me. See, I remember it so vividly. I realized my mistake. And there I understood what exactly is that unconditional love. So I think you have to be really, I believe in destiny. I'm a person, because the whole world is now discussing free will and destiny. I feel that there are issues in which you can be neutral. If it is politics, I'm always neutral. I'll never show anything outside. But when it comes to a question of certain things in life, you have to be clear about what you want. In that, I'm very clear, when you say free will one side and destiny, why I bring in destiny and free will now here is you have to be destined to meet such people in life. Because you will never know, you cannot go fishing for a good friend, you cannot go looking for a good wife, or you cannot go looking for, it's all, it have to be, I believe that it happens by some sort of the cosmos work in a very miraculous way in which you may not even know that, and now at this part of the life, uh, me being now I'm quite very spiritualistic now of late. I'm become so sensitive for a lot of things I see in my life as miracles. I say the life is full of miracles. Everything is a miracle. And when I say this miracle, people think the miracle is something very big. Miracles are very, very common, very normal, provided you have a sensitivity to understand the miracle. See, why I say this is uh, one thing which we get by growing older is to get some wisdom of things. So, coming back, friendship is something. Now, to be very honest, my best friend currently now is my wife. So, because we go and grow through that in life. So we communicate very much like friends, and we discuss so many things as friends. So one more important thing, I said unconditional is one. The other important thing in any relationship is not taking the other person for granted. Now this is again, I'm very honest in that. That was not me, but off late, as I told you, this is one of the good values I've added to my life, to my integrity is I never take anybody for granted. I give everybody their due respect. I give everybody their due uh, uh, their time and their whatever they need. And that again is very important for a good friendship.
When did the interest for singing come to you? Was it something that you had when you were growing up, or when did you know that you could sing? What was your inspiration for singing and the interest in arts?
Actually, I would honestly say it's not just singing. I'm a born entertainer. That's a better way of putting it. Why I say this? Singing is a part of it. See, I realized it when I was given some small roles as a child till my in my third standard. I played Nehru Mama, like Nehru. They dressed me, and then I was very fair, and people always used to dress me well and do that. In my sixth standard, I became the gypsy lady, Korati. I was one of the that these things are even remembered even now by my teachers who are alive and my classmates. So then in the next year I became I took a role as a lady in a drama plot. The 10th standard again I became Pattumami, the Brahmin lady costume. These so I was really I loved acting. I was used to compare even then in small way, and I was one of the major entertainer in all our family trips. I used to sing and dance. So singing, dancing, comparing, these things were all part and parcel of my upbringing. I never had a stage fear. From childhood, I used to do that. My mother was really a very, very good singer, very pleasant singer. In fact, she wanted me to learn music. So she took me to one of my aunts. She was a very good musician. You have to believe me, I couldn't learn more than a week. I ran out because till date, whatever I sing is only Kelvik Jnanam. Like whatever I hear, I'm a sort of a singer, and I knew very clearly that there is some sort of, because I music was very naturally I could sing, I could, but now after over many years of practice, now I can sing to an extent in a reasonable, decent way. So singing, I knew it was there. Probably I was probably born with some thing which could make me a singer. Uh, so it was not just singing, it was entertainment. I used to entertain people, which I continue doing till now. Any circle, whether it is a student circle or relative circle, wherever it is, I don't have any hesitation to make that place vibrant within no time. I can easily entertain people.
Stanley was. Did you specialize in cardiology there itself? Did you choose cardiology as a specialty then?
No, actually, Stanley Medical College, I pursued my MBBS, which is actually the undergraduation. So the village boy, the town boy who came from a Tamil medium school, learned to speak English in the first 2 years. And I got my first gold medal in fourth year in ophthalmology. And in my final year, I passed out in flying colors with around 16 medals, gold medals. So I was a best outgoing student in Stanley Medical College, which even I never expected, because I knew there are so many of my classmates were quite brilliant, good. But again, in life, one secret which I always tell people, you should know your strengths. Everybody has a strength. These strengths make them win life, make them uh, catch what they want, make them stronger and more focused in what they want. So I realized that in medicine, knowledge is important, communication is very important, expressing the knowledge what you have is very, very important. Now, again, coming back to, I think I told you that I used to draw diagrams. So this became, so most of the time, whatever you know, because you are assessed by two methodologies in medicine. And one methodology is you have to write answers. So I used to draw beautiful diagrams, and I write, and whenever I write, I underline, and so my expression of whatever I knew was probably very good. So that was one of my strengths, which I consolidated. Next one was communication, where you get the viva, wherein they ask you, you have to present a case. Presentation of a case is an art, where you should know how to express, what to express, how to consolidate, and how to put it across. Use the proper words. So all these things gave me a bigger edge than people whom I knew very well were much, much more intelligent, much, much more knowledgeable, who came from various strong backgrounds. Even I couldn't believe that I had, in fact, 3 university medals. I was first in gynecology in the state of Tamil Nadu, and won multiple medals. In fact, finally, I was with around 14, 16 medals. So why I say this is, if I take something as, this is not trying to blow my trumpet, but these are all the things which gave me confidence in life, that if you want something, you can do it. But you have to go plan and do it.
If you want something, you can do it. And you have to put in the effort.
Yeah.
And you have to be dedicated.
Yes.
And you have to be unconditional in your
Yes.
commitment to it.
Yes. There is no shortcut for victory or success in life, because that was one of my TED topic was on success versus happiness in my life. So that was one of my TED talk. But having said that, you should know, in management we always talk of this, know your strengths and weaknesses, and opportunities and your threats and opportunities, the SWOT analysis. I think a self-SWOT is very, very important for you to know who you are and what you can do, what you cannot do. Don't waste time on things which you cannot do. But you should, once you know that you can do something, try to do your best.
I have one last question, and then we'll take a break and probably come back in another section. When did you decide that cardiology was where you wanted to be?
See, as I told you, after the Stanley Medical College, once I came out, the second level was in MD General Medicine, which I pursued in Manipal. The sad fact is that I came out as the first best outgoing student of my Tamil Nadu University. But because of that time, even now, the prevailing facts of reasons I could not get placement in Tamil Nadu.
You were the best outgoing student in Tamil Nadu?
In Stanley
Medical College.
Yes.
And you could not get an MD
I couldn't get
admission in Tamil Nadu?
I couldn't get. And I won't blame the system, because, again, I accept things. I never question or criticize, because these things will give a lot of negativism inside. So I say, if I get something, I'm happy. If I don't get it, I say, okay, what next? So I went for my MD medicine in Kasturba Manipal, where again I came out as a best outgoing student in my MD medicine. Then I had to appear for the third level, because you should know cardiology in medicine is a third level. MBBS, MD, and we call it as a doctorate in medicine, DM, which again I got it in an open entrance in Shri Chittarai Tirunal and Trivandrum. So currently, I always say that whenever I see our MBBS boys, they come join medicine after +2. So I ask them, please understand that you have to do another +2 in medicine. So 6 years of MBBS, 5 plus house surgency, 5.5. Then 3 years of medicine, another 3 years of subspecialty, super specialty. DM is in the medical side, MCH is in the surgical side. So it becomes another 12 years for you to be a specialist in something. So cardiology was always a fascinating subject for me because in MBBS, my strength I realized was in medicine. I always say that the real, the bright guys like medicine. I always say that. No harm to say that others like surgeons or physicians are not bright. But I always say that bright people choose medicine. And having chosen medicine, the pinnacle of medical subject is cardiology. Because cardiology was most favorite of most of the people because of various reasons. Number one, we could do so many things in cardiology. Unlike in some branches where you can talk a lot, there's a lot of theory but not much of practically possible. Cardiology had so many options of treatment. And cardiology was most sought after because of the popularity. And cardiology could make somebody very rich because it's one of the most highly paid jobs. But obviously that was a loss in my way of looking at it. I chose cardiology because, again, the brightest of medical people always go to cardiology. So I chose cardiology and I got it by an entrance exam, national entrance exam in Chitrai Tirunal. It's a national based entrance. So usually they have only 3 seats and usually about 200, 300 people appear from the national level and 3 of us get selected by methodology of first we write entrance exam, following which they have Viva OC and then the final interview. So again, destiny, God's grace, I got my DM cardiology at a very young age. In fact, I finished my DM cardiology when I was 29. I took everything in one shot from MBBS, MD and DM. So around 28, I was a cardiologist. So I was married by then.
I was going to ask you, by the time you also
yes,
happened to get married as well.
Married, and I had both my children. Both the children were born when I finished DM. I had 1 wife and 2 children.
Lovely. I think I'm going to take a break here. I'm just going to recap what we've spoken in this wonderful segment with Dr. Bhuvaneswaran. The importance of grounding values, of being humble, of being modest, of loving people, of being affectionate. And that, like everything else, a relationship, especially a friendship, has to be unconditional. And that if you want something and you really think that you aspire to it, then you need to put in the effort. You need to have, obviously, we need to understand what our skills are, what our strengths are, and we also need to put in the effort and be single-minded in our endeavor to achieve that. And that it is not what life throws at you, it is how you respond to life. I think that's the lesson I've taken away from this segment that we've spoken with you, that yes, we need to be able to take responsibility, we need to double down and do what we need to do. I think that's a wonderful place to take a break. In the next section, I'm going to be asking Dr. Bhuvaneswaran questions that anybody should be asking an eminent cardiologist on the aspect of physiological cardiovascular health, in specific cardiovascular health. My areas that I'm going to definitely rely on Dr. Bhuvaneswaran is to look at how can we make it holistic. how can food be medicine, and how do we need to live life, right? How do we manage stress? How do we not have distress? How do we have eustress and not distress? And that's something that we're going to be talking in the next section. Stay tuned and to this. Hopefully, I'm finding it exceptionally interesting. Hopefully, you do too as well. So wait, and we'll come back with our second segment.